Welcome to Positive Outcomes, where leaders turn hard-won experience into income, impact, and freedom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Positive Outcomes. Again, we are going to have a very, very interesting show tonight because I'm talking to someone that I know is very intelligent. I have no clue what he does. So I have my paper and my pen out. So together we are going to learn. So welcome to Positive Outcome, where professionals and leaders turn their expertise into income, impact, and freedom. And I'm your host, Dr. Doreen. So today's guest, I'm going to let him introduce himself to you guys. Take your paper and your pen before we dive in. And welcome to the show. I'm going to let you just introduce yourself to the audience tonight.
Hi, yes, thank you very much for having me here. Well, my name's Ian Hughes, and I'm a technologist, innovator, and I've specialized in robotics and AI. And I've been designing prototypes for the US Army, for several industries in South America and the US, industries very broad, such as mining, agriculture, entertainment, retail, in these fields. And I try to bring my vision of the future to these companies and wherever we go and present our companies to.
Wow,
That's a
that's really amazing. So take us back, Ian. What first inspired you to just be on this field? What when did you start, and what inspired you to take this route?
well. So I started very early. I studied electronic engineering, and from school I knew I wanted to become an engineer. I studied in Chile in South America, and from there I was always looking at other places like the US, Germany for their engineering schools. But I was in Chile and the different family situations and stuff. I couldn't travel back then for different situations. And so I ended up studying electronic engineering in Chile, but always with this mentality that I wanted to compete or be on, competing with the high-end universities and technologists and so on. So very early on, I started also my own company, and I started working with different industries that wanted to somehow innovate, and they needed a fresh view on how to do some things. And with some level of success, I started growing my network, and a lot of companies and different people started contacting me. And a few years later, my company was about 15 engineers, all
Amazing.
working from computer science and electronics and AI, robotics, and so on.
So 15 years ago, you were talking about AI?
Yes, I started the company, if I'm not wrong, so a while ago already. And yeah, so I we were talking about AI back then when before it was so cool as it is now.
That is really impressive to hear. I'm sure my audience are gonna wonder what were you guys talking about AI during that time, 15 years ago? Like, what was the scope of the conversation about AI?
Well, they're very different than it is now. I think everyone now understands better also the capabilities and restrictions and possibilities that AI has. Back then, implementing and working with AI was very different. It required a very big effort to produce anything.
Of course.
But there is still some industrial applications that we could where we could leverage the use of AI. It was smaller applications, smaller controls, where we had some sensors, and the sensor needed some smart or intelligent answer to adjust the process or something like that, where we implemented AI. So it's not as cool as it is now, but it's been a long way. So it also feels good to understand AI from its beginnings, although it doesn't begin there, but
So that
from an earlier time.
Right. So that brings me to like my next question, right? You mentioned engineering, you mentioned robotics, and you mentioned AI. Is that like a step-by-step approach, or is that integrated along the way? How do you navigate those three things? Do you have to have a specific skills, or does engineering come in a package with robotic and AI? Can you break those aspects just for someone that is listening and is interested so that they will understand the diversity and how it aligns?
Well, so I think what we're asking is a very complex question because it can be answered from very different perspectives. I think the first one is a very operational one in the sense of what we know now, OpenAI and these Anthropic, these big companies that do all this, it's mostly software. So it's large computers that basically process a lot of data and give you a result. But if we talk about things like, if you've heard the term AGI, artificial general intelligence, so like a step closer to what we know as human intelligence in terms of the coordination and to explore the world. So depending on how you approach this problem, it could be a very complex multidisciplinary work or mostly software when it comes to applications such as ChatGPT or things like that.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So while you were going through the phases, right? What are some of the challenges that you face along the way, starting your business and integrating all of this? And how did you overcome some of those challenges?
So I think context is important because as I mentioned
Yes,
earlier,
please.
I started in Chile, and Chile is not the US, it's not Europe. You know, it's a small country, 17 million people.
Oh,
And uh, yeah, so a smaller country is not per se technologically behind, but there's a smaller market, smaller possibilities in that sense. So I think one of the first things that I had to overcome is that usually everyone is this local mentality ingrained that needs
okay.
where you need to grow outside. So first, you're not building for your local environment, you're building something for the world. And that's the first challenge that's very hard to overcome because creating those networks and understanding everything is a challenge on its own. That's why we very early on also we started looking at the US and we started working with the Department of Defense back then because we were reaching out, we were trying to make contacts, going to networking events and things like that. And we knew that we didn't just want to stay there and we needed to become bigger in our vision and more
Right.
ambitious in that sense.
Right. Right.
And overcoming that is also, there's something that keeps coming up in entrepreneurship that is a lot of people think that you need to be extra smart to be an entrepreneur, and that's not really true. It helps, of course, but it's, the grinding day by day, day after day, and not giving up and trying to fulfill your vision, changing the method, but
Uh-huh.
keeping strong with your vision. And that's, I would say, a very high percentage of
Right.
what needs to be done.
Wonderful. So from where you started, you said it was not like the United States. Did you have to create some kind of awareness? Because it's probably something that was probably new, like 15 years ago. Like, was there like a define, like here we go, we get our first degree, we have a master's in engineering. I don't know about that, but for the medical field, you go do your residency, you specialize in a particular field and things like that. Was that the case, or was it just out of passion? You got your engineering degree and then you started diving in.
I think it's a mix. Initially, of course, a lot of the cultural influence in terms of technology comes from US, Japan, all the robotic cartoons and things like that we watched when we were children. And that comes as an inspiration to start looking to other places. And yeah, I have to say, like the movies also, US movies, there was a big influence for me to follow this path and to look outside also. And yeah, that helps to feed into that vision and into that vision of where you want to go.
Right.
I think that's an important part of it.
Right. And you founded your company, right? And is that the same company that you've been with for like how many years? Or did you change companies or like just like step by step, 15 years ago, like where were you and what was the transition and where are you now?
Yes, I started uh, over. So before 2012, I started a few other companies that didn't work out. As it usually is, you have to try things out to understand how it works, fail a few times, and then start again with all your previous knowledge and start improving. 2012 is a company that I started that ended up working out a lot better than the other ones, of course. And since then, it's been the same company. I'm working currently on a different company here in California. That's also in my field. It's a company to create off-road autonomous vehicles,
Wow.
mostly for defense purposes.
Amazing.
And so that's just starting. So we'll see where that take us.
So the focus, the foundation of this current company exactly right now, what are you doing? What is the outcome? What do you accomplish with the current one right now?
You mean the one that I started in Chile?
Yes, that's the same one the one that did not fail.
Yeah. Um, the original idea was to bridge the gap between academic research and industry,
Oh wow.
and this is something that's been more or less solved in the U.S. through different ways, but in many other places it's very uh, it doesn't run as smoothly. I knew that academia was producing, from the technology perspective, a lot of results and a lot of interesting things that could be applied to industry to improve something but there was no connecting uh, or path to get there. So from the very beginning, all I did was understanding what was going on in academia, finding applications in industry, and contacting industries to see if we can do a pilot and to if we can try out these new technologies. And some of those ended up working, and that's what drove all of this to be a sustainable company. So basically, now we have an innovation process where we help industries find their own or define their own problems, find technological and match with technological solutions, and implement new ways to solve things in these different industries. Because it's technology, and technology is very broad, covers basically every industry. That's why this company, Enervix, it's called, has been in defense and agriculture and retail, entertainment, and many other places. So it's been also a very interesting company to work with because it's exposed everyone there to a whole different sort of different problems and interesting companies and interesting problems overall.
That's amazing. For listeners that watching us tonight, right? And they have expertise and they want to open a business. I just want you to look at them and talk to them about the failures that you had and encourage them that you still made it, right? You said you started a couple of companies, they didn't work out. You started another one, they didn't work out, but finally you got to one that worked out. Why don't you just talk to them about what pulled you through that moment? What inspired you to keep going? Because some people, when they try the first, the second, they just don't have the desire to keep going. What pulled you through that moment of failure to know that you can stay persistent to a place where you can have a company that is making it?
So I think there is a lot to say in terms of overcoming fear, also being extremely resilient to failure, because this is a process where you learn through failure. And failure comes in so many different ways. Also, all sorts of risks that were you unmotivated and discouraged from progressing because of your own uncertainty and imposter syndrome, and where you think you cannot do it. What we were talking earlier, that I'm just going to stick with my vision and I'm going to keep trying. And if you're sure that this is going to work out, then it's working on it day after day, regardless of how you feel about it. Because if your vision is still there, this is going to be a roller coaster from beginning to end. And the smaller wins that you do along the process, those wins have to be able to feed all the rest of the failures coming next to it or after it. And then you'll eventually have another win where you feel all pumped up again and encouraged and happy. That's going to come with another set of failures. And that's going to keep going until things start to level out a little bit more. But as a business owner, I think it's important to understand that when you own the business and you start to work with more people, you become the filter or where all the problems get somehow they get to you, and you have to deal with everything from technical aspects to financial to everything is going to land on you. So maybe some issues overall will be resolved, but the company is always going to have some sort of problem and some sort of things that are going on. It's not easy. That's why developing this resilience over time is I think what kept me going for sure.
Wow. I love that. I told us to take our paper and a pen, right? Ian said, learn through failures. He said, be resilient, have that mental strength, tenacity, be persistent to keep going despite the failure. And one thing that he said that really, I really, really like is that celebrate those wins. Sometimes we are too hard on ourselves, right? So celebrate the little wins and celebrate it. And then Ian said, you can still fail again after celebrating that win. It's okay. Still have the resilience to keep going and still celebrate the wins that come along. That is so amazing. Thank you so much, because I'm sure Because people that come here, they have expertise, they have the knowledge, they have the passion, they have some businesses, and they want to know how to take the next step. And I'm sure there's someone listening to us tonight that has a business that is failing or that has failed, and they're thinking about the next step. So this brings me to the next question. How did you get the idea? For example, it failed, then is it the same line of business that you open? How did you get the idea to start the next one? Did you change some things? Did you stay in your field? Did you just call the name differently? Did you change the goal? Was the scoping different? How did you navigate from one to the next? The idea, the goal, the mission.
I think there's different paths, and everyone has their own way of solving this. So I can talk about mine, but a lot of people also agree that it's important to stay in a field where you have some level of expertise, because that's where it's easier to find problems that are real. So if your field is medical, you probably know about a lot of issues that are where you and your field encounter these problems.
Right.
So even if you confront one and somehow your idea fails, you learn something from it, and then you move on to the next problem. I think one of the things that I've learned also from the company that I from this company that I'm currently running, also Enervix, is that since we've exposed to so many different industries, we always have the challenge that we are confronted with problems that we don't understand, because we are in a field that it's our client's field and we are outsiders. So there's always a process where we need to sit down with them and talk exactly step by step what they do day by day, what causes this problem, how they have tried to solve it, and work with them on the field or whatever it takes to fully understand the problem. And once you fully understand the problem, then it's time to work on the solution. I think might also happen, but I think it's a lot harder when you just run into problems that are not within your realm of expertise, because you might be confronted with something that other people are trying to solve in different ways, or they have solved somehow, and so on. So I think in my case, it's always been in AI robotics, and I love doing hardware, so like electronics and things like that, and I like solving problems using these tools.
Right.
And then through this process that I described earlier, that we try to come together with the clients and really really spend a long time understanding what the issues are, how these issues are caused, and how they've been tried to be solved before, and so on.
Wow. 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 That's amazing. So looking back at what was like the turning point where, like, what is that one thing that you made that you think helped this specific company not to fail? Right? What is that turning point? What is that? Is that like a different strategy? What is that one thing that got you to this place where this company has sustained growth or sustained being still in business?
I think it's several factors. I think one of the important ones is team. The previous ones, I started with some friends that I thought, were that we were technically on the same team, but sometimes things don't work. Like, life happens to everyone, so priorities change, things shift, and if you're not sharing a same vision and a same way of dealing with things, you might end up in trouble. So I think that one of the things that worked out really well is that I found a group of people that were basically as workaholic as I was, and that shared a common vision. And that helped us also stick together through the hard periods of the company. And that took off a huge mental load in terms of having to deal with everything by myself, to be able to share ideas, to come up with solutions, different ways of dealing with everything that was going on. And yeah, so I think that's a very, very important component to it. This company started out with a very good team of
Good
people.
team. I think you nailed it. The team, the people you collaborate with, the people you work with, the people that share your vision. Because you can have, I talked to someone earlier, and they said it might not be your friends or your best friends or people that you know. You might start the business, and the people that you think are going to be the ones that you will work with, they might not end up sinking, right? So
That
you can
that's
bring
correct.
someone else. And did you have a vetting process, or it's just happen? Did you have to have a vetting process, or because some people just they're lucky, they just meet people and they work well together. But some people have to go through an intense vetting process and they bring the people and it still doesn't work. So for your case, was it by luck or by vetting these people?
So I think at the very beginning it was somewhat luck because the things I just ran into people that where we shared a vision and they were very eager to participate also. But of course, as the company grows, you need to start getting a bit stricter on who you bring on board. That um where you need to start vetting a bit more. One of the things that I've found that is very important to doing so is when talking to someone who wants to come on board is to
Hold on.
no problem. Yeah. So one of the important things when starting to vet people
Mhm.
is and this is also out of my experience, is that resumes don't really matter that much. It's more if you see what they have done, how they confront problems, and if the field where you're going into is really within their passion. And you can tell it is when you see that they're how they talk about this and um, yeah and when you get this sensation that there is a real that the driver is passion behind what your vision is other than just a motivation to personal growth or money or something more, yeah, something in
That is
those
amazing.
directions.
And you said it, and I've heard that before, that resume usually you can't just go by resume, even by interview, right? I think you have to have a degree of intuition also and act and go out of the box to really get the right people for your team. Because as you know, people only put references that are going to give them good reference. I'm not going
Right.
to put a reference that I know they're not going to give me a good reference on my resume, right? So, and it's important for all of us listening to hear that, because people's CVs can look really good, the references can be good, and then they get on the job and they don't know what they're doing. So you have to be able to look at the soft skills and really be go out of the box, especially if you're having an interview and you're talking to the person. This is really amazing. So Ian, you have accomplished so much. If you turn around and look at your 17-year-old self right now, eyeball to eyeball, what would you tell your 17-year-old Ian?
Well, that's a tough question. But I think, and I've done this exercise also by myself, but I think since I started very early with me wanted to explore the world in this way, like, through exploring technology and talking to extraordinary people that have been in different fields, I think I can turn around the question a little bit in the sense of what would this younger version see in myself, and would I have fulfilled his dreams, and that helps me also kind of stay on track because I'm sure there's a lot of things that I've worked out. Some of the things haven't like I planned or like I wanted when I was younger. But I think the asking that yourself and seeing yourself through your younger self and thinking like what you thought of you or what you were gonna be when you grew up and all that is a really important exercise. I have three kids now. They're three boys,
Amazing.
and I also asked the same question about with them. Their oldest is 6, and he's starting to also understand a lot about the world, and he wants to be an engineer also. And of course, I want to bring this to him in the sense that I want to also show him all the things that can be done, like all the things that you can do, and it's I think it's a tough question because you have to put yourself and kind of audit yourself in terms of vision,
Sure. Oh, sure.
but I think it's a very important exercise
Yeah, it is.
to
And the
do
good
so.
thing about your kids is that they have you, right? And especially if they love to go do the same field that you're doing, the good thing is that they have you, they have a mentor, have a coach in the house that you can now navigate and answer the questions and go through the challenges and things like that. You know, uh, we're almost wrapping up, but what is that one problem that you are most passionate about solving for your clients right now?
Uh, So the company that I'm starting right now, it's kind of a spin-off of the previous company. The other company is still up and running in Chile. We're doing a lot of cool things there. But the problem that we're addressing right now is off-road autonomous vehicles. And if it's dry, if it's wet and snow, and so on. And this is what this company is doing. And this is a very hard problem.
It
But
is. I have a Tesla and I've never let that thing drive by itself. I put my hand on there all the time. So
yeah,
when you
well,
say off road, my hand is like, I can't even drive my car. Let it drive, then not off road.
yeah, well, that's what we're trying to do. So next time, maybe you'll be driving
Right.
the. It's mostly applications for industrial and military. So basically, when you have a U.S. Army, we work a lot with the U.S. Army. When they have to bring supplies from one point to another, the road might not exist. So, or also when soldiers are driving a vehicle and they're busy with other tasks, that cognitive load of having to also be driving through rough terrain can be taken off a little bit by systems like this. So that's kind of the whole point when you're somewhere lost anywhere in the world and need to have a vehicle that drives itself.
That is absolutely amazing, guys. This is really amazing. And I'm sure they're going to come back with a lot of questions for you, and I will definitely keep you posted. So, how do people reach out to you? Do you have something that you're offering to the people?
Sure. So my company where a lot of these things are also posted about the vehicle and all this is www.innervyx. It's INNERVYCS.com. And that's one way. The other way is just straight to my email, which is ian.hughes@innervyx.com, which is IAN dot.
Amazing. So, we are wrapping up, and I always end with two questions. The first one is, this is a positive outcome show. So, I know you've achieved a lot. What is one among many positive outcome that you have achieved in your journey and that you're really proud of? And what did you take you to get there? One positive outcome, and how did you get there?
So I think a positive outcome is understanding better what the drivers of happiness are. And
What is it from here? Are you thinking another bigger goal, or is that the focus right now? And then what next after that?
well, I think it's important to set the focus at least one important thing at a time. As an entrepreneur, I keep looking at other things all the time, but I'm trying to focus on this one problem because it's a big one, a big challenge that I've set in front of me. So I think this is going to be for a while. Yeah. So I'll be probably dedicated to this for a little bit. Well, so we are already building some prototypes. So we expect that by 1 or 2 years, we're going to have something interesting to show commercially.
Congratulations. That's actually impressive. So,
Thank you.
what is that biggest lesson in life?
It's well, so I think for me, it's been, as I mentioned earlier, also a long, very interesting journey. But as we talked also earlier, if I've had given up at any point along the way, I wouldn't have done all these things that I did. And I'm really happy of all those things. And I think resilience is one of your best and silent partners. And you need to understand that this is part of life. And um, depending on if it's business, usually life's not going to end if things fail. Yeah, I think that's
Amazing. And that's just what it is, resilience. Resilience. If we can just, all of us can hold on that nugget as we're ending the show. Thank you so much, Ian, for joining. We have learned quite a bit. Like my mind is going in directions that I never thought I could ever go. But it's been so interesting. So thank you so much. And thank you guys for listening, for watching. Please share, and contact him on his website. It will be also a part of the video. Reach out to him if you have any questions or if you just want to connect or if you're in the California area. So thank you all so much. And we will see you all at the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Positive Outcomes. Follow the show and share this episode to inspire someone's next chapter.